Hello and welcome to another video from me, Andy Lunn, motion graphics designer, and in this video we're going to be looking at a style I think that's become really quite popular, and it kind of works for corporate, B2B. In fact, it works for pretty much everything. It's got a real sort of coochie clean, a little bit retro style, and it's 2D flat character design. And this can be moved over to, as I mentioned, a whole gamut of different things. And it's one of those styles that's kind of like, it'll disappear eventually and it'll come back round like everything else does, like flares and big collars, purple ties. Anyway, enough of that. Let's jump in straight into Illustrator and have a look. And in a follow-up video, I'll probably do some videos on cell shading in Cinema 4D. So if that's something that interests you, let me know. But in the meantime, let's jump in and have a look what I'm actually talking about and the style. You'll see. Let's jump in. Simple geometric shapes, nice sort of like flat colours, and a very stylized, simplistic view. As I mentioned, these really do work for a whole gamut of things. And we've seen in that little preview I just showed you, so some of these characters have already been animated. And I'll go through, we'll create one of these characters, and I may actually follow it up all the way into After Effects and talk about rigging and giving your characters a little bit of personality over just them being flat and wooden. But this is the style that we're talking about. It really is open to your interpretation on this. There is no right and wrong way. If you draw this and you think it looks cool, and it's all good. So let's jump in and create a new character, a new palette style, and I'll show you how I actually create mine from scratch. Okay, so here we are. Nothing nicer than a fresh, crisp platform to start working on. Just love it. I could just literally leave that like that. Maybe I'm into minimalism, who knows. So the first thing that we're going to do now we're in Illustrator is something that I think a few people forget to do, and we're going to come up here into the document settings, and we're going to make sure that we are in RGB. And while that's important, obviously we know that RGB is for the web, CMYK is for print. But what tends to happen is sometimes when you create your colors in here and we set them into After Effects or Premiere and we're working with clients, corporate branding and things like that, the colors shift ever so slightly. And that really is an issue if we're wanting to be a switched on motion graphics designer, and we want to make sure that that's bang on. Make sure you're in RGB, especially if you're working in a linear workflow when it comes through to After Effects and the others. And if you don't know what linear workflow is, I'll cover that in another video. So here we are. Here's our fresh Illustrator thing. So the first thing that we want to do really is you want to get yourself a color palette. And I've created these colors here. These can be anything. You're not locked into these, but what you may find is that during a project, if you have a color palette preset like this, you'll tend to, your work will have its own style and feel immediately. It'll become very locked into that particular style. Obviously, you can take these colors from the corporate branding, but if we make sure that all our characters and everything that we produce now, backgrounds, you know, supplementary stuff like clocks and desks and other things in our productions are following this, then you're in a better place. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually just going to create ourselves a swatch here. So we've got these, so we can use the eyedropper tool. For example, if we come up here and create this, we can use the eyedropper tool obviously to pick from here. But if we wanted a stroke, what would happen is if we go to this stroke, whoops, yeah, come to the stroke and then we click another color, it's just going to go straight back to this. Whereas if I pick up here, it will just color the stroke with that color, vice versa. I think you know what I'm saying. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get all our swatches, and we're going to get up these palettes, the palettes that are necessary so we'll not keep going through. We're going to be using the Pathfinder a lot. So let's get that bad boy up. There we go. God, do you know OCD makes me want to just stretch that. Just stretch it out. You can't. So we're going to be using these swatches, we're going to be using the Pathfinder, and let's just have a look up here. Is there anything else we're going to be using? We may use the Align, but everything else in there is not really going to be a huge use to us, to be honest, especially not when you're creating this style of video. What I will do is, as well, I won't be using any quick keys. I'll be going up to the menu so that people who are very new to this sort of stuff, you're going to get an idea of what I'm pressing and what we're actually doing. So we are probably going to be using the layers palette. That's here, and it is, just to teach you, it's F7, in case you're ever not sure. I'm going to bring that up. Another monkey voice, there we go. Another monkey, indeed. Now, how I work at this stage is I tend to, first of all, get the head working. And again, with all these things, this is going to be subjective on the style of the character and the style that you're actually going to be working with. So I'm going to get straight up here. And these little buttons down here, they control the roundness. And of course, again, this is going to come down to personal preference on the style of it. If you keep these corners really quite square, it's got a very stylistic look. If we round them off and we bring them like this, you've got a little bit more of a traditional, softer approach, so we say. So for this one, I'm just going to drag these out a little bit here. Now, when it comes to the actual face, again, I find that a simpler method seems to be more effective. For example, eyebrows. So if we come up here, we're going to use the rectangle tool, and we're going to go straight across like so. Eyedropper tool, and we are going to pick this nice brown thing. Now, this could be anything. We could turn this into a headband, eyebrows. What else could we turn that into? It could have been run over by a little steamroller, run through manure. Never would have thought I'd be talking about manure and steamrollers on a video, but let's crack on. So next we're going to come up to the nose. So we're going to go for the rounded tool again, and we are going to drop that nose in there. Now, I'm going to colour the nose slightly differently. And even though I talked about this colour palette up here, there is actually one other colour I think that I want to put in here. So I'm going to alt drag this across over here, and I'm going to pick like a bit of a carroty orange colour. Let's have a look. I don't want to make it too orange. I don't want him to look like a snowman. So I've got this orange colour. So we're going to press I for eyedropper, and we're going to drop that in. And immediately, without even putting eyes or anything else on, you can see there is a bit of a different feel to this. Depending on where we put the nose, you can also almost imagine where the eyes will be and where they're going to be looking. And of course, if we change the size of this nose, it's going to give it a completely different feel immediately. I'm just going to bring these eyebrows to the front. We come up here, arrange, bring to front, lad. And there we go. So it's almost, with this little small nose and this down, it's almost like a brute. It's almost got a brute feel. And we've only got 3 of the most simplistic, basic shapes here possible. There's nothing really complicated about this. But again, just even changing this nose, now it makes him look a bit like a I think you know what I'm saying. So let's move that nose up a little bit. And of course, we can line these up with the auto align. And there we go. So next stage, let's just move that up a little bit. I want to get rid of that curve. There we go. So there's the nose, there's the eyebrows. Now again, the mouth is going to be very subjective, because some people on this style, they create a small little mouth like this. I for eyedropper. And we're going to put that up there. And immediately we've got a ooh. Of course, depending on where we put this, ooh, it's got that. Frankie Howard. It all depends on where you want to put that mouth. And of course, we can do things like this. If we blow this up, we'll come up here and we're going to use the rectangle tool. We're going to draw over this till it snaps. Select both. This is where we're going to use the Pathfinder. We're going to use this one here, the divide tool. Click. I'm going to right click on these and we're going to go ungroup. And then we're simply going to get rid of that and that. And there we go. Got that sort of a voice. And if we want to, again, make this even more interesting, if we take up here, we take the ellipse tool, and we create a little bit of a shape like so. Just get that in the right position. And we zoom back out. And we make this, let's make this purple colour. Zoom back in. And we're going to use the Pathfinder tool again. There we go. Ungroup. I think you can see what we've done here already. Now we've got a little bit of a mouth. And again, there are a million different ways to do this, and you're really going to have to find the style that suits the production that you're working on and your own personal style, and whether this is something that you want to keep doing and progressing. But it really is just a matter of playing around. As you can see, I'm messing around over here. Let's concentrate now. So we're going to come back up here, and I'm going to turn this into this color. Now, a little tip I want to give you here is you never want to have your whites and your blacks at 100% black. Never have 100% black. Never have a pure white, because especially when it comes to video production, you've got nowhere to go then if you want to make something whiter slightly. And especially when it comes to video, you tend to get images that are burnt out, and when that's not really what we want, we lose detail in the super highlights. And if it's too dark, when we crush the blacks in videos, we tend to lose it there as well. So it's always slightly off, and that's a little tip for you. Never have pure white and never have pure black. So I've actually lost my little tooth. There it is. So we're going to come straight in down here, and we're going to drop this down here, and this can be like a little tooth. And again, I really could do a video on purely on creating hands, teeth, and face. There are so many different ways to do it. Let's put that one in there, put that one in there. And also having this as off-white slightly, I can actually see on this white background here where it is without having to press Command Y, Control Y, in order to be able to see where the actual objective is. Objective? I'm thinking I'm back in playing in my war games again. So again, we're going to click the divide button, select it, ungroup. Oh, I seem to have already done it. Where are we? Ungroup, there we go. Get rid of those, and now we've got a nice little mouth, and we're just going to group those with Control G, and we're going to drag that over here. As you can see, we've got a little bit of a character, and that's this nose is not it's not quite buzzing me. But obviously now if I click on this and I drag the bottom one, you can see the curve at the bottom here is actually going to be distorted. So what's the way around that? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything, select all. I'm going to deselect. Sorry, I'll tell you what we're going to do to make this a little bit easier. We're going to put these colors on a separate layer, and I'll explain a little bit further as we get into it on some of the stuff I'm doing here. So we're going to select everything here. We're going to deselect the nose, and then we're going to come up here and we're going to go to lock. So this is locked now. I can't select it. Sorry about that. I had to make a phone call. So yes, we've basically locked all the assets here, and we're going to be using this tool here, the direct selection tool. So we click on this big hooter here. As I said, if we drag this down here now, that's going to affect the actual shape of this. So I'm actually just going to drag over the bottom half, then I'm going to hold down Shift, and we are going to, what have I done here? What have I done? There we go. Then we can drag this to any length we want without actually affecting that bottom curve. So I'm just going to bring his nose down a little bit like that. And as you can see, not too bad. So we're going to unlock all, and I'm going to bring these down because basically when it comes to doing these sort of characters, we want to be exaggerating in real life. So we want, you know, like low down, etc., etc. So now we've basically got a kind of head shape. We'll create a couple of ears. So these couldn't be easier. We're literally going to create one sphere as so, eyedropper, and we'll go for a darker color here. Then we're going to go edit, copy, paste in front, and we're going to reduce that in size like so. Eyedropper tool up there. Bob's your uncle. Select them both, and then we're going to group those together. Control G or Command G if you're on the Mac, and we're going to drag that across. And then we're going to send that to the back. Again, I'll do these up here just so you get an idea of where we're actually going with these. Send to back, Shift, Control, and bracket, depending on what you're on. I don't know which format you're on, and we're just going to reduce these down slightly. Whoops, grab his ear. Grab his ear and drag the other one across, like so. So, this is the basic premise of doing it. We're using very, very simplistic shapes, like so. And I will actually be showing you in a further video how we can use a certain plugin in order for us to be able to use a control panel in order to be able to turn the head like this in After Effects without us having to do multiple keyframes. Once we've set this up, I'll be able to show you, and you'll basically get the idea. So let's just have that as our basic head. And now when it comes to the body, again, There are so many ways we can do this. We can literally go make him turn in, into a fatty, and obviously let's just change this color because he looks like he's naked, and that wasn't the intention. So this looks like he's actually leaning towards us. And if we bring this down, you can see now it looks like his head has gone further back, and obviously if we bring that down, it looks rather weird. And if we put it like that, it's almost like he's flying towards us. Maybe you've seen that flying cat gif that goes around on the internet. So we have that sort of body. So if we put that sort of body there, what we'll do is we'll move him over here, and we'll create another one here. And if we change this body style here, let's go for the that one. Let's create that sort of body shape. Again, we're going to send that to the back. So that gives us that sort of look and feel. And if we create a third one for this one, we can actually, let's just create one from scratch. So we'll have that coming out ever so slightly. Let's have that coming round. This one's not going to be perfect, but you get the idea. Whoops. You get the idea on this one. And we'll come up here, thread that across, and Bob's your uncle. And again, we'll send that to the back. You haven't done a very good job of that, but you get the idea. So that's kind of that way. So really, again, when it comes to the body types, completely a different aspect. You just decide whatever you want, whatever you think is relevant to your production. And now when it comes to arms and legs, because we're talking about unrealistic, these are not realistic, so I find that it's better to exaggerate features. So if we go for his legs here, let's do it on, well, we'll do it on this one. Let's go for his legs. I find that if we really exaggerate, and that might be a little bit too much, if we really exaggerate these things, let's give him some let's give him some blue jeans. We'll send that to the back. If we exaggerate the features here, it just seems to give a cooler feel to it. Let's put some on there, and some on that might be a little bit too much. It gives a much more interesting aspect to it. If we were making his legs, much thicker, which of course you can do. We could make his legs thicker, but I do prefer, personally, this sort of style where it is very exaggerated. And I just find personally it's more interesting to look at. And it seems when it comes to the arms, I don't actually do any of the arms in Illustrator or in vector-based. Of course, we can quickly just create one in here. Let's just create another layer on here. Let's just create one really quickly. Blah, blah, blah. There's his arm. And we're going to flip those across. And we're going to bring up the stroke window wherever I've put it. I thought we'd already got that one up. Where are we? Stroke, stroke, stroke. There we go. Let's just bang this up to 60. And over here on the caps, going to round both of those. Now again, this kind of doesn't work now because this needs to be exaggerated even more. So I'm probably going to push this up to let's have a look, 140. That might be a bit too much. Because we wanted it, this character just seems to have turned into a thug. That wasn't intentional, and I'm going to use the reflective tool up here. We want this to be horizontal, please, and a copy. I don't know what it's done there. Let's get the rotate tool. Just rotate that around. So we've got both our arms there, and we'll stick that on there. He's looking a little bit camp. That wasn't the intention. But purely at this stage, all I'm doing with the arms and the legs is just to get a vibe, just to get a feel for how this character is going to look, how it's going to feel, and more importantly, how this character is actually going to animate. Something that I think you need to take into account as well is, if we're using this character, are the legs going to bend sort of boing, boing? Or are we going to have a walking animation? Or are we going to, what is this character going to be doing? Is this character going to be walking side to side? Because if this character's kind of stood still, then again, I quite like when we have this sort of thing. Let's just create a really quick shoe, and let's just colour that in. Let's give him some pink ones, because that's what he's into. So it is literally, something like this. where are we? Where's the reflect tool again? Where have you gone? Where have you gone? There we go. And we're going to flip that over. This sort of style, I think, works really well. I mean, he looks ridiculous. Let's be honest. He does look ridiculous. But you're going to get the idea. It's just simple, generic shapes. Make sure that you stick to this colour palette. Create your own colour palette and stick to it throughout all the productions. And really from this stage, if this was going to be a character that I was going to be taking into After Effects, again, these legs and arms, they're just there for a placeholder. But then I would start creating other things like I would create a pocket with some pens, or we would put in here something like, they come down here like this. We would add in a collar onto the jacket. Let's go for that lighter colour. Might not be light enough. Send those to the back. And the legs to the back. Add in a collar, add in some buttons, add in anything in here that we can then, just to add a little bit of interest to this actual production, this actual animation. And you'll find that eventually you'll be using the same shapes, the same icons, the same everything. And that's simply how you build up that look and that feel to create your animations and your 2D characters before you take them into After Effects. Now, while I'm quickly here, ever so quickly, what I'll actually do is now I will show you how a little bit behind the curtains, but this is really for probably another video, to be honest with you. If this was to go into After Effects now, I would create a lot of layers like so, and each one of these I'm going to put in. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to cut this with Control X. I'm going to select a layer, and then I'm going to press Control Shift and V, which means paste in place. And I'm then going to name this right underscore leg. And then we're going to do the same for every other part of this. Barring the head would probably, at this stage, it would be the head, the eyebrows, the nose, and the face. They would all go into one separate layer. The ears, for example. Probably, I'm trying to think how I tend to do this. It probably would be both ears, but if we're going in for something that's a little bit more complex, then I will even separate out the ears as well. So that would be ear underscore right, and then we would have ear underscore left, etc, etc. So then we've got all those parts in there, because really the anchor point at this stage is really not important. So I hope this has been of a little bit of interest to you on how to create some characters in After Effects. I realise this is not the most interesting or exciting character, but you do get the idea of a little bit of the process that's involved in this. And in the next video, I'll be showing you how to rig up this character, and we may be using some external third-party programs such as Dux, and I may even do some stuff on, may even put some stuff in on the rubber hose tutorials for you as well. So I've been Andy. This has been Firebox Razor, a motion graphics channel on YouTube. Subscribe, thumbs up, and help me. I'm more than willing to help you on any different topic and different subjects that you like. So if you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe, let me know what you want. I shall see you in another video coming real soon. Life in motion. Bye bye, you idiot.